I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and your life. Whoa, secret, I'll try to make you proud. Someday won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid, it's my time to chase the monsters. All these stories to you, only difference is this one is true. Time is gone, folding your clothes on the chair. I hope you sleep well, don't be scared. Time is gone, disappear. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. Whoa, secret, I'll try to make you proud. So daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid, it's my time to chase the monsters away. In my lifetime, yes, and breathe. Last night, you can feel my hand on your heart. I will be the last one, so I leave the light on. Let there be no darkness in your heart. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. While you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So, daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid, it's my time to chase the monsters away. All right, everyone, please grab a seat. We're about to start the talk. All right, thanks a lot, everyone, for coming. Raise your hand if this is your first Tequila. All right, excellent. Now, raise your hand if this is your first time at Capital Factory. Oh no.
Well, not really.
More or less. All right. So, what is Tequila? Tequila is this event that we love to do every month, and there's always tequila for you guys. And we also love to invite a different speaker every time to share his or her experience, something related to technology. So we have had all sorts of cool people here sharing their knowledge, and today is no exception. But first of all, I want to thank Capital Factory for facilitating this space for us. If you don't know what Capital Factory is, it's a whole community, an ecosystem of entrepreneurs and companies that love to do events, love to network. They have open co-working spaces. They have a prototype lab, and they are everywhere here in Austin, in other cities as well. But here is the headquarters, so you can visit their webpage and sign up for their newsletter, and you'll get news on all the events that they do. Okay, so this event, we do it in Houston and in Austin. In Houston, we have been doing this event for 4 years now. Actually, yesterday we had a panel on cybersecurity, and we've been doing this event in Austin for approximately 10 months now. We as Blue People, we landed here a year ago. We have offices in Mexico, in Houston as well, and we do software development. So we don't sell tequila. It's just an excuse to meet and to have fun. But we do software development, and we do turnkey solutions, project-based software, and we also do staffing. So if you have any interest or want to know more about us, please reach out. And well, thank you for being here. You can sign up to our newsletters and also to our Tech and Tequila LinkedIn account. That way you'll be informed of when and where is going to be this event. It's always here at ACL, but sometimes they switch us to the Voltron, which is the main venue downstairs. So yeah, subscribe to this LinkedIn account and you'll get all the information about the next talk. All right, so if at any given moment you are thirsty, you can raise your hand and Enrique is going to take care of you. He's going to bring a tequila for you, or a paloma. All right, so today I want to introduce you to Victor Rico. He's been in tech for many, many years, and he helps product managers make better decisions, right? So today he's going to talk about scaling smart. So please give him a round of applause. Hola a todos. Hello, everyone. Thanks to Annette for the invitation, for the Blue People team for having me here, and to our bartender tonight for the liquid courage that he gave me. Hope everyone is enjoying the evening. Today I'll be talking and knowledge transferring, as I call it, a little bit more about my experience. I've had the privilege of being a founder. How many of you are founders of a company? Okay, I respect and admire your work and dedication. And I've been employed for big companies like WhatsApp from Meta. How many of you work for a technology company or just a technology or a company? Yeah, I have a couple of people here. So great. So as you could imagine, this transition from being a founder to working for big tech have given me a lot of insights, some of which I want to transfer to you today. Um, so to get things started, how you heard about the event? I see some people that I know here in the audience.
Memory Capital Factory.
Capital Factory, okay.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, okay, perfect.
Elevator.
The elevator, okay.
We sell tequila.
We got an elevator. Awesome, thank you. I see some other previous colleagues here that are just joining us as well. Alan, thanks for coming. Do I have a clicker? Okay, I'll go. So also, I started a newsletter recently called Hablemos de Producto, and this was an effort of mine for connecting with product leaders. I sell into Latin America. As you heard before, Pendo is a company that focuses on giving you as entrepreneurs and giving you as employees of companies the tools that you need to know how your products and services are being used. So without further ado, we'll kick things off and get started. So a little bit about my journey, not to spend a lot of time on it. As I mentioned, I've been a founder. I started a company called Bionet, focused on fraud prevention and identity management. And we launched a couple of products there. One of them was successful. The other one we had to pause, and I'll dive deeper into that in a minute. And then I also worked for WhatsApp. My role at WhatsApp was launching payments. How many of you are WhatsApp users or know of WhatsApp? Okay, yeah, so I see a lot of hands being up. Thank you for that. And how many of you wish you could pay or send money to someone within WhatsApp? Yeah, that would be very neat. I mean, we're doing it today with tools like Venmo, PayPal, and so on. So it makes total sense, right? If we're already talking to others on WhatsApp, and if we're already conducting business like many companies do today, why not pay, right? So I was part of the team that helped launch WhatsApp in Brazil and India, which is two of the markets where you can actually send money between people and you can actually pay businesses in WhatsApp today. And we try to launch Mexico as well, which is why they hired me. I'm originally from Mexico. I live here in Austin and have been living here for the past 5 years. And I went to a company called Cloudflare, which some of you may be aware, some of you all in the cybersecurity or protecting your website and infrastructure. So in Cloudflare, I worked with my colleague here, Alan, and we were in sales. I was mainly focused in selling into the West companies, startup and digital natives. And then now at Pendo, where I'm an account executive and I focus on the commercial segment, which is companies of up to 1,500 employees. So I have a passion of bridging innovation, product, and growth, and also community building. I've started very small communities of 2 to 5 people in my hometown of Chihuahua. It's called Machaca Valley, so Silicon Valley, or Machaca Valley. Machaca is one of our predominant breakfast foods in Chihuahua, and that community has grown and now self-sustaining, maintained for it's about 250 people. And now with Hablemos de Producto, where I'm interviewing people that are product leaders, with my curiosity about knowing more about how they make decisions, but also I don't know how many of you have been in a sales role or in a business development or have tried to reach to someone, and how often do your cold emails or cold calls get picked up or responded? And I went through the same thing. Not a lot of them were doing, so I was like, what's the way of hacking this? And I learned this hacking part at Meta, at Facebook, and WhatsApp. It's like, if you want to get something done, there's a way of hacking it, which means it's like you analyze what you've done and you either try something different or create a new idea for getting to the outcome that you want. So I hacked my way around how I could get conversations started with product leaders. And after sending 10,000 emails, cold emails, over a course of 6 months, and not getting a lot of replies, I'd say, okay, maybe I'll start a podcast. So I did. It started, I reached out to the first product leader and said, hey, would you be interested in being on my podcast? And it was a prospect of mine. And I was like, I have a genuine interest on learning from you and how you do your job. So sure enough, fast forward to that interview, we now have 10 published. And how many people do you think respond to me of the same product leaders that receive 10,000 of my emails that want to be on the podcast?
A lot. It's an ego thing.
Exactly. Everyone's interested. So far, nobody has said, no, I don't want to be there, you know? So, and now I'm starting to see the fruits of that benefit because people are starting to get better jobs,
So I've had speakers already in my podcast that receive another offer and are very happy and say, Victor, I cannot thank you enough because of your interview. I heard about this other friend who was working for this company and they brought me in like new role title, more seniority, more responsibility as well, so more pay. So we're very excited. And I'm also getting to have these conversations with my target, with my prospects. So I've shortened my sales cycle. Some I win, some I lose, but from months to days, right? Because after they come with me in the podcast, I tell them on WhatsApp now, it's like, hey, would you be interested in talking pendulum? Some say yeah, yes, and the ones that say yes, okay, we go and start a sales cycle. But the ones that say no, they tell me everything about who they're using, what they like, what they don't like. So that's the way I have carried around many areas in my career. Every single tech job that I've had, I've been referred by someone who works at that company. I applied to WhatsApp and Meta for over 10 years, probably. And when I got hired, I got 15 of my friends to recommended me. So probably the recruiter was like, who is this guy that knows that many employees that work here, right? But after 10 years in tech, I got to know a lot of people that ended up working there. And I think that played a big part. So a lot of the people that you're today, and I would say one of the biggest values that you can draw from spending time here, it's connect. You know, you never know who the person sitting right next to you is. So let's pause there and turn to the person to your left side or right side if you already know the ones that you're with. Just say hi, introduce yourself, say my name is Victor, I work for
Not so convenient. That's a good name. Yeah? Lucky guy. Lucky guy. Let's go to the casino. Who are you with?
Yeah, and oil and gas.
Oil and gas?
Yeah.
Okay, tennis. So it's technology or?
No, we are.
All right, we'll have more time to talk. We'll have more time to talk. I think the mic's not working. There's going to be one sound out. Yes. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to see that everyone's talking to each other. That you are taking this time.
You're making your goal.
Okay, now I'm going to drop the mic and leave. That was the talk. And we'll give you a couple more minutes. Because the conversations are like taking longer than I expected. So if you're ready, raise your hand. If you're ready, clap your hands. Okay, half of the room's ready. The other half of the room is having a debate of whether they should move on or not. But anyhow, you have plenty of time to drink more tequila and talk about what you do. So that's what did it for me. Even though I went to school in Silicon Valley, my first job out of college I got because of a friend that referred me to the company that he was working for. And pretty much it's all history from there. 15 years later, I'm still here. I've not hit unicorn status at my startup. I've not retired as I thought I would at 35. I'm now 37, turning 38. And I just like to keep it real. So I'll break it down for you. So startup in big tech. What does the scaling mindset shift look like? So for all of you who are in the startup phase, you're focusing on survival, right? You are experimenting, you're trying to get product market fit. And what happened to me is that I was a great salesperson, but I think I knew I was, right? And what do you all think about salespeople? Do you like them? Do you love them? Do you hate them? You love them, hate them, love them.
The previews are great.
So salespeople say, I love my salespeople. I love that, right? But for the most part, if you ask someone on the street, hey, would you prefer to talk to a salesperson or to, I don't know, your best friend? Most people will say my best friend, right? Like, or even if you pick some other profession, I don't know, to a fireman or a police. Okay, that's a good one. How many of you prefer to talk to a cop than to talk to a salesperson? Raise your hand the ones who want to talk to a cop. Okay. To a salesperson? Okay, raise your hand the ones who want to talk to a
Or you get pulled over.
No, just like a friendly conversation. Well, you're right. Like
stories. That's the story.
yeah, being a pull maybe don't want to. It's the same. What do you prefer? So one of the hacks that I typically use is when I'm talking to a new prospect. He's like, I'm a terrible salesperson. So what comes to your mind when I say that? You say, oh, this guy is for real, or this guy. So it changes, right? It's like if I tell you, I'm a terrible salesperson. I'm the worst salesperson you ever meet. Now you're opening and giving me a chance to see how bad am I, right? So that's one thing that if you want to get into sales, or if you don't do sales, that's something that you can try that has worked for me in the past. The other thing is like, how many of you like to buy? Okay, to buy things, like you go out shopping or whatever, right? So everyone likes to buy. So I like to go into sales cycle with that mindset. I'm not gonna sell you anything, but I'm gonna help you buy. I'm gonna help you make the best decision. And that also changes the perception of people when you tell them, hey, listen, I love buying too. So let me get in your shoes to help you make decisions. So in this startup phase, and pretty much you're selling, right? At the startup phase, you're selling yourself for the most part, especially in the beginning. If you don't have a product, you're selling out of a DEX presentation like this, and then you're selling your team, you're selling the company, you're selling the vision. If you're a little bit farther in advance, where you are, I don't know, you already have some product, you're trying to sell the product, you're trying to sell the idea, you're trying to sell the potential, right? So at this stage, it's very important that you're focusing on survival, right? So I used to measure my company's lifetime in the amount of months that we had to survive. So I'll wake up and say, okay, we have 3 months left. What do I need to prioritize? I have 6 months left, right? I was an entrepreneur in an emerging market like Mexico. It wasn't very mature when it came to raising capital. It took me 6 to 8 months to finish my round. And once I did it, I had to start racing again because we already consumed most of the funds that we needed. So yeah, it's startup phase, just focus on survival. Scaling phase. So in the scaling phase, you want to start thinking about optimization. Once you hit product market fit, once you've seen that your solution is being used and your product is being used by a lot of people, you want to start optimizing, automating, and you want to start creating this repeatable process. So without getting very technical into sales frameworks or methodologies, there's always a sales framework or methodology that will help your company at the scale you're in. Whether you are one person salesman, right, back in the area, I don't know, are you a one person sales team? Yeah? Or you're a group, then you'll find the framework that works for you. And I like to say that selling it's not an art. It's an art and a science. So there's a science behind a sales process, and you can go from one to step two to step three. Over my career, I've had many different methodologies and sales cycles, and to be honest, the one that works best is the one that helps you get deals, right? So pick the ones that's helping you win. So some of the big tech learnings. Can you imagine how many employees were at WhatsApp when I was there? We were serving, I don't know, billions of users. And how many employees do you think you need to serve billions of users? Yeah, and it was only a handful of us that spoke Spanish, and less than 500 in the whole company. So think of it this way: like how many employees you have to serve that user base, right? So when in big tech companies, you need data-driven decisions, right? And one thing that I like to talk with my teams, my peers, is like, show me with data, right? It's like, can what you're saying be backed by data? If you don't have the data, it's okay to say, I don't have it. Let's go back to the drawing board and get that data pulled out from somewhere. But without the data, it's very difficult to make decisions. How many of you all make decisions based on data, in your business or in your personal life? Okay, for the most part, can someone give me an example of how you leverage data to make decisions?
I'll do mine. Mine is for content creation.
Okay.
So I have to study my analytics to see what works, what didn't work for my community, what video scaled the most, and why did that video pop off like the way that it did. And the data shows for the outreach and the time that it watched. And I'm like, okay, well, this video is what people like and what the further community that's out that's not currently following what they love. And so I need to repurpose that content to create more of it.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. So for the people that are on the live stream, because we're also live, hello everyone, that's watching the stream. So this is an example of a content creator or content producer, content creator, who is looking at this data to understand the behavior of his audience and make adjustments based on that, or reproduce the same content that's already working. So that's a great example. At a very big scale, though, you need data to be very precise, and you need data to start working for you. So it needs to be structured in order for you to grow. And it also, in sales, once you get to a certain size, you need to have repeatable frameworks and methodologies. So most companies will do like a sales training at the beginning of the year. I just went through mine where they bring everyone together, and you get to experience and to see how the top people at the sales organizations or learning organizations we'll sell the product so that you can replicate that with your prospects and clients. At any given time, if you have any questions, raise your hand. I can come to you. If you want me to dive deeper into any of these areas, I will. And there's an Easter egg in the presentation, so let's see if you can find it. Um, so key lessons from big tech startups, product-led growth. So this is something I wish I knew when I had my own business. So when I was at Bionet, we were leveraging tools like Google Analytics. How many of you all know Google Analytics for like marketing and things like that? So we're using tools like Mixpanel, which is also an analytics platform. We're also using tools like Hotjar, which allows you to record what your users are doing on your application, whether that's on web or on mobile, and to see where they're struggling with. And for me, I had to spend hours on end looking at hundreds of recordings in order to make conclusions and in order to tell my team what to build. So now in Pendo, we have that integrated with AI where we give you the still view of the recordings that we take. So let's say all of you go to pendo.com, pendo.io right now, and then you start looking at the website and you start clicking pricing, right? Because I assume all of you want to know how expensive this is. So we will see that and see, okay, out of 50 people in the room, they all clicking pricing, but they got stuck. They didn't know what to do next. So maybe we should add a button that says, hey, talk to Victor, right? So those are the things that you can start to see in how product-led growth companies are starting to analyze data based on the user behavior. Not only that, you can start making decisions and leveraging those insights to drive adoption. I love this example from a company called Okta. One of you know Okta, which is like an identity platform that you use to log in for sometimes for your email, sometimes to Salesforce. So Okta leveraged a company like Pendo, and there's other competitors, but I know Pendo very well, so I'm gonna talk about that a little more, to drive their adoption, right? So they wanted their users to help them drive the roadmap of product. So they'll say, okay, you have an idea of what we should build, right? Usually when you're looking at an app, you say, oh, it would be great if, right? I was looking at WhatsApp and I was thinking, oh, it would be great if I could send payments, right? So you can send that to the product leaders or to the founders or to the people within the company. So another key lesson was operational excellence. So structuring teams for efficiency, which means product people should be focusing on product, design people should be focusing on design. How many of you are wearing multiple hats in your companies today? You're not only doing sales, you're also doing the work. You're not only doing marketing, you're also executing the copyright, right? Or you're doing copy. So we're wearing hats. So in big tech, you have to focus in one area specific and be the best at it. And this customer-centric approach that I always like to bring into my conversations when I'm talking to lovely crowd like you all today, when I'm talking to my customers, is I want to focus on you and your success and aligning on that vision. How different it is if I just show up today and said, oh, I'm just going to give a talk about, I don't know, what I know about businesses and tech. But if I get a little bit of feedback from you as I'm doing throughout the talk, that allows me to fine-tune my messaging and align it more to why you're all here for. So anybody wants to share why you are here today? Maybe it will resonate with others. What do you expect to get out of this talk?
I mean, I've recently started like a B2B SaaS, and I'm just learning about how to get more of the marketing stuff going.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So you want to learn some sales tactics, some marketing.
Yeah, I'm a developer, so I'll
Okay.
get the code, and then I'll have the code brain, and then I'll be like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard to balance back and forth the wear many hats thing you're talking about.
Do you think there's a correlation between sales and programming?
I think there's probably some correlations.
Right. So you're programming and you have a step-by-step process and you're doing like if ands and you're doing thens. It's if you think about and I always thought of this. If you think about sales as programming, sales will make much more sense because you're actually going through a similar cycle. It's not with systems, but with people and teams, right? So if you create that process and that flow, it allows you to have that perspective that okay, there may be more differences than I thought. So thank you for sharing as well. All right. So more on product-led growth because I feel that if I would have known that product-led would have helped me be successful at my company, I'll probably still be there. But I didn't have a system in place at that time that was allowed me to make decisions. Most of the decisions that I made as a founder were more like, okay, I think we should go in this direction. I was more gutting it than doing like a data-driven approach. Um, and how can startups implement product-led growth? So if you have a company of less than 500 users, you can use Pendo for free. You have analytics, you have guides or tours in order to onboard your customers, and you also will have NPS and surveys. So if you have more than 500 users per month, then you will talk to me, and I'll cut you a deal, and you'll be happy with Pendo and getting more insights. But what I'm trying to get to here is like there's so many tools that you can leverage at any given time frame uh, in your journey as a startup founder or as an employee to help you make better decisions. How are we doing with time? Good. So leveraging data for growth. Why does this matter? So making informed decisions at various stages is very important. And Alan can attest from here, whom I used to work in Cloudflare. So we have this system that we use to send emails and to make calls, and we'll prioritize our list based on if they open the email, if they click on the email, if they responded to us in the past, if when we call they answer, right? So leveraging data is not only important in sales but also in product. You want to know if your marketing team is doing a good job of bringing your customers on board, and then once you do, you want to understand what they're doing, in your platform, in your service, in your technology, in your journey. So you design a journey, you have these wireframes, and everything's going well. But at some point, you need to start asking the questions: are we actually seeing the revenue come in as we want, or we're not? And if we're not, what can we do about it? And some of the key metrics to track, obviously, it changes and varies from company to company, but are you able to convert your customers? If you're giving them a free, like I just explained in the case of Pendo, are these customers staying, growing, or living? And then are we able to retain those customers? Are they staying with us not only for a year, but more? And then for churn, like are we experiencing any churn from customers that are no longer with us? And you also want to be able to calculate the lifetime value of a customer. So if it's costing me $1 to bring you as a customer, how much will I be able to make from you in the future? Any questions here? Is it all making sense? Am I going too fast, too slow?
What is churn?
Okay, so churn is when you had a customer that decides to cancel. So let's say, do you have Netflix or any subscription services, Spotify? Yeah, so you've been using them, you've been paying them, and then you churn is when you decide, okay, I want to cancel. And typically, some companies, if you call them, will say, hey, don't leave. I'll give you like
give you a deal.
exactly, we'll give you a deal. You can use that. That's a hack to negotiate your expenses. There's a company that I love that if you take anything from this call, you can take this, but they negotiate on your behalf and you pay them a percentage of what they negotiated. So I use them to negotiate my cable expense at home, like internet cable. And yeah, they were successful. I was like, there's no way they can do it. I'll try it myself. I tried, I called, and I wasn't successful, and they were able to do it. So they saved me like $300, and I paid them like I think it was 10%, so 30, not bad. So what are some of the common pitfalls and how to avoid them? Going back to my time at Bionet, I was there for 2 months, over 2 months, for 2 years. And I think one of the mistakes that I did is that I tried to scale too soon. And this often happens with entrepreneurs or companies alike. It's like you think you've hit product market fit, you're looking at the data. In this case, we're looking at the amount of people that we had on our database, and those were growing. So we said, okay, maybe um, we can start building another product because we see that this product is growing. But we're still getting the revenue that we required at that time. So we created another product, and we divert our focus, and we started going in a different direction, and that didn't help. So if you are a founder or if you are working at a company, try not to scale too soon and lose focus on what you're doing at the moment. And then ignoring product market fit. So focusing on revenue before solving real problems. You may see revenue start to come through, right? And it could be because you're cheaper than your competition or because you're better. Hopefully you're better and you're cheaper. But are you really solving a problem that will scale with the rest of the persona that you're trying to sell or the companies or the industry? And then a misalignment between sales and product teams. I cannot tell you how many times I went or I've been in sales meetings and the customer asked me something. I said, oh yes, we do that, right? Or for builders, If you're trying to sell a project and the client asks you, he's like, can you build that? And you say yes, but you don't have no idea. You know it's possible, but you have no idea how you're gonna get there. So it's very important that you're very aligned with your product team. In this case, if you are the technical co-founder of a company, you're aligned with your sales counterpart, not to have this mistake. And then not leveraging AI in automation and scaling operations. So when I was a founder, I will ChatGPT and all of these AI platforms went around. So there wasn't much for me to leverage. But now I use ChatGPT every day as a salesperson. It's amazing for campaign creation, for follow-ups, for automating a lot of it. So embrace it, use it, and if you can, share it with your team and others within your organization. So you're all leveling up and learning from each other. Cool. So we're coming towards the end of the presentation. I want to leave you with 4 clear steps that are actionable takeaways. So step 1 is invest in a data-driven culture. What this means is having the right tools and platforms in place, like Pendo and some others that I've talked to you about today, but also at the same time having the right people with the right mindset. Because being data driven, it's not about the tools as much as it is about the people. So if you're able to flip that switch first for you and then for others, of saying, okay, I want to actually give data a chance, right? What will happen if? And then the second thing is focus on customer experience and product growth. So you spend a lot of time and effort either talking to customers or getting customers or serving your current customers, that you wanna make sure that you understand what do they wanna get from the product or service that you offer. And then once you have there, it's making sure that that product's driving the growth of your company. And then step 3 is building scalable systems, not just revenue. As the company scales, and I've been in companies of a couple of employees with my co-founders when I started, to like thousands of employees or hundreds of thousands of employees in the case of Meta, you need scalable systems. As I gave you this example, we were serving billions of users and there was only 500 of us for the whole company, and only a handful of us that spoke Spanish. There's more people in Mexico with WhatsApp than there is with running water or electricity. So you can see how reliable the service has to be in some of these emerging markets like Mexico. And then step 4, learn from big tech while keeping startup agility. I think one of the things that I miss most about being an entrepreneur is these spaces. These spaces have magic, and you have to believe it. If you are from a corporate executive and you come here today, this is your chance to connect with the people here that are building great things. And if you're building great things, it's your chance to connect with tech executives that are here to share insights. Maybe one of them will be an investor. I cannot tell you how many of these events I did during the first 10 years of my career. I didn't charge anything, full disclosure, to be here today, but I do it because I care. And hopefully from this talk today, you're able to get some takeaways that can help you either be a better founder or be a better corporate executive or employee at a company. Thank you very much, and we'll open it up for questions. Are you on question? No?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could ask any question I wanted to.
Okay, perfect. I thought you raised your hand.
So my question.
Huh?
I've been in corporate pretty much my entire career.
Okay.
My last role was in product.
Okay.
So I know very well, the ins and outs. Now I'm trying to move into the startup world.
Okay.
And so kind of the reverse, right, of what you did. And I'm having a hard time selling the value of what product brings to the startup, especially like Series A startups. They're like, what? We need a product person? What? And I'm like, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
And then I try to spin it as, well, maybe you need a customer experience or customer success person. And they're like, what?
Yes.
So they're very much focused, as you said, on sales and like all these other must-have functions, but product just seems to be like this mystery to them. And these, I guess maybe I should clarify, the industry that I'm targeting is more food tech.
Okay.
So they do tend to focus obviously more on their food operations and supply chain, but anyhow, just wanted to put it to
No, I love that. Thanks for sharing. first you're brave. Because if you're trying to go from like big companies to startup Series A, that range, you have to be brave and you have to know that you are going to be getting yourself into an interesting scenario. You're gonna learn a ton. You're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to wear many hats, and you're gonna have to. I think you're not gonna have to. In my experience, I had to cope with um, patience, pain, and unpredictability in all regards. Like you don't know if the company is gonna raise the next round, and that has the founders like running around. You don't know if there's gonna be enough clients. So there's a lot of factors that are in your control, but some that may not. I think your is an amazing example. Thanks for bringing it up because even though companies like Pendo have been around for 10 years, product is still new for the rest of the world. You know, like uh, we have 16,000 customers, right? And I think one of the best questions that I ask my prospects when I'm in call is, can you tell me how many active users you have in your platform today? Most of them don't know. Can you tell me how many customers you served last week? Most of them have no idea. Can you tell me how many users you predict to have next month? So that question puts them into perspective on how valuable product, and that's where product starts, right? If you're a product person, it's like, okay, so who are we talking to here? Are we talking to everyone, to no one, or to just a few? So that kind of like gets the conversation started for me, and it usually helps. The other thing is, I love the food tech industry. I think Siete Foods is doing an amazing job, local company here in Austin, and they have a ton of product people. So another thing I would recommend, or if I were in shoes, I would do. I love to give recommendations and on unsolicited advice. So take it, take it. I say it's like, hey guys, have you looked at Siete Foods, and do you know how many food tech people are there? You know, you'll find that they have a full team of that, and you can tell if you go to HEB or any supermarket, these guys have been innovating and on a innovating momentum for the past 2 to 3 years that I started following. Is they have the chips and they have the salsas and now they have tortillas. Right? Everything you can think of, there's a Siete product for that. You know, amazing brand. They're doing a great job. So yeah, I think it's bringing it back down to their level. I think also it's like it doesn't matter how you call it. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be representing the voice of the customer or on the user. And there's plenty of examples of how Steve Jobs in Amazon used to leave an open chair at his meetings, especially if he wants to say like, hey, this is a customer, someone has to think of them and be in their shoes. So if they don't get it, it's probably not the right opportunity for you. And I hate to say that, but it will be very a difficult hard sale because product people without tools are like carpenters without their tools also. You know, like even though the wood might be amazing, you're not able to put up a nice table if you don't have the right tools. Like, yes, with your hands you can try, but you can only get that far. You know, so I think it starts with selling yourself, but also selling, okay, this is something, well, if you're not gonna hire me, are you gonna use those funds to like have tools at least in place to for your design people to know what they're looking at, or to their marketing team, or to customer success team. So yeah, those are a few thoughts. I'm happy to spend more time there if there are not more questions. But I think I think those are signals to some extent, but also looking at what other top companies that are doing an amazing job typically helps them open their eyes. Yeah.
So you said Pendo. Is Pendo your company?
Yes, Pendo is a company that I work for. Yeah, not a company that I started.
Got it, got it, got it. So how was that transition from it being, you know, around for 10 years and now transitioning into the space of utilizing AI? What did that look like from the customer, experience and the user interface to where it is now? I find that like a lot of times when there's a program or a product that I'm interested in, I'm very turned off by AI because it's disingenuous to me and it's not a productive experience. And then it creates the consistent feedback loop of me never actually getting to the results that I'm looking for as a consumer.
Right.
What is different about that company and how would you encourage someone who's in this transitional phase, right, of starting a company to scaling a company to becoming, big tech essentially? What does that look like?
Yeah, how does look like your question at the end? And for the people online, I'll try to repeat it. It's like, how is Pendo incorporating AI to make it to keep it user friendly and so that it's not scaring users away of how AI is integrated into the product or service itself. And then how does AI look like for starting a company, scaling a company, and like selling the company or integrating into a big company. So the last question I don't know. What I do think is that companies that have been investing in data for a very long time are going to have a competitive edge over those who don't. Because at the end of the day, like you're training AI models based on the past, right? You can try and ask them to predict the future, but the model will become more valuable the more data that you ingest, right? Especially like in sales, I'll give you an example. I'll analyze like all the deals that we've sold to, like, and then I'll tell them like, hey, who was the initial person of interest? Like, how did this opportunity got started? You know, and if I ask that same question, I'll get an answer. I'll say like product manager, right? If I ask the same answer, question to ChatGPT without that data, it'll say chief of product, right? Which is the most like the owner of the budget.
Yeah, it's very, very high up.
Right, exactly. But that's not what the big percentage of the ops that we want started. And then back to your question around how Payno is integrating AI, I think we're doing it in a very subtle way, in the sense like I gave you this example where in Hotjar, I had to look at hundreds of session replays to understand where my users were getting stuck. Here, what we do in Pendo with AI is we analyze those sessions and we tell you, hey, we looked at 100 sessions and there's a click rate where the button probably wasn't working and a lot of users were clicking there multiple times and they were getting stuck. We recommend that you look at and then try to fix this specific issue. So in this example, as you can see, AI is not communicating through Pendo to the users on the companies who are our customer behalf. We're communicating with the operators of our platform. So we're communicating with the product manager, with the designer, and with the customer success person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is like today there aren't any features or messaging that the end users are seeing that Pendo is creating with AI. Does that make sense? So we're actually leveraging more from like a platform perspective to help you save time. Because I totally get your point. It's like it becomes disingenuous if you feel like, oh, this was like, if you get now I think most of us can tell we get an email that was put through ChatGPT or someone actually took the time to write it, right? It's like we're starting to get that taste. So I think it's similar. It's like you want to feel like someone got help from AI, but it didn't actually just got like turned into production.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. One guy that I follow, it's a Mexican guy who's studying philosophy, and he's focusing on artificial intelligence and ethics in Oxford University. And I think that's going to be a great segment to be on. Is like, how do you train these models to keep them human-like or to help them make better decisions? You know. So I think it's yeah, I think it's an interesting. It's interesting for me to know that there's people actually thinking about it, like you and like this guy, who are like worried because he's genuinely worried about this. Like, I don't want these models to just go crazy on us and just start throwing stuff at us that we don't want or ask for or need. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, great question.
I can do a follow up. No, no, yeah.
What would, based on your experience, what would you recommend to someone that want to step into the product management field?
Yeah.
And my second question, this is related. I know from your bio that you were also part of the Oyala. So can you share a little bit about that story?
Yeah. So interestingly, of all the startups that I've been, I've exited all of them but mine. I'm still keeping the hopes there. But yeah, Oyala, it was the first startup that I worked for, and it got acquired by a telecommunications company out of Australia. It got acquired for $500 million. I was an early employee. I was employee 90, but I didn't have a ton of equity. It was my first job out of college, so yeah, I did okay, but it could have done better. Probably. And Oyala was great. So a friend of mine introduced me to the CEO. He was a guy that had Mexican descent or Mexican background. I was moving back from living in Silicon Valley for 4 years, studying and working there for a while. And then I interviewed on the phone. It was the weekend I was coming back to Mexico. It's like, hey, it sounds like you're are extrovert and you like to talk, you may be good at sales. Why don't you come meet me in Guadalajara
Okay.
and on Monday, and that's your first day. So he hired me on the spot. I had to move from Texas at the time to Guadalajara, and it was an amazing experience. I still have keep in touch with him. Shout out to Bismarck. I worked with him at Wiseline as well.
Okay.
And it was a great experience because it allowed me to travel across Latin America. I started in Mexico. I moved to Guadalajara. I was there, and then moved to Mexico City. I can tell you, on my first year selling for Yala, I lifted every rock in the country. Like I talked to cable providers, I talked to TV stations, I talked to media companies, and I went to a lot of networking events. And the 25th of December of my first year, after not selling nothing for one full year, we closed Uyala's biggest client to date globally. And that solo client brought a lot of revenue to the company and also helped expand the team in Guadalajara.
Okay.
So we went from having very few employees, I was like employee 13, to hundreds of employees. And so it was an amazing experience. I had to grind, like I was telling you in the beginning. I had to be very patient. I had to go through a lot of pain. I had to travel a lot. At that time, we didn't even have Uber. I remember the first Uber that I took in Mexico City. It was like some time ago. Probably some of you weren't even in the corporate world yet. But yeah, it was a great experience. I think my biggest learnings was on the first year was don't give up. And then on the second year, I moved from Guadalajara to Mexico because I was just spending so much time there.
Sure.
And it was like, I have to be where my customers are. And think of it like this was, I won't say the word because we're in live stream. It was a pre-era, right? Where everybody expects you to show up and shake hands and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think that was, in the third year, that's when I got promoted to account executive. I started as a sales development, business development representative. And I think that year I learned that every effort will eventually conclude in a reward. My last day was the day the company sold to the telco, and it was like my first success story. I've envisioned that moment for a very long time after starting in Silicon Valley. And then just having been part of a company that went from hundreds of employees to thousands to selling, it was like, okay, this is real. You know, like it's not something I'm gonna read on the books. It's just I'm here. You know.
Cool.
So it was great. And then your first part of the question, can you repeat it?
Why would you recommend, based on your experience, to someone that wants to step into the product management?
Yeah. All right. So I'm doing this now. So when I got hired at WhatsApp, I was hired as a project manager. And typically, big technology companies, they hire you as an analyst or project manager. From there, they make you a program manager, and then from there, they promote you to product. So project, program, product. The difference is like project, you're managing one project. Program, you're managing multiple projects. Product, you're managing multiple programs for one product. So it's a little bit complex, but when I understood this, I was like, okay, so my career transition is to become a product manager eventually. So I started investing on that. There's plenty of courses. I'm taking one right now from a guy called Thomas Vidaure. He's a product management himself. It's a product management starting course. It's 6 sessions, 2 hours per session, and we go through different areas of what a product manager does. And I definitely recommend that one. Bendo has a lot of free product management certification courses. Some charge as well, the most advanced charge, but you can start for free. So the first thing I'll recommend you is just pick any course, one course. They're all going to be very similar because product is very standardized. Similar to sales, like you have a client, you have a prospect, you have a lead, you have a sales cycle. So the first thing we'll look into the free courses, whether with Bendo or someone.
Thank you.
I know we're coming close to time. How are we doing here? It's 7:44. Yeah.
Can you talk about how you work with marketing, like product and marketing together?
Yeah. One of my colleagues gave me this example of how I can explain how collaboration should be between marketing and product. So without that collaboration, you have a leaky bucket, right? Marketing is drawing a lot of water into a bucket that has holes. And you don't want that, right? You want to have a bucket that is well sealed and that water will not escape. So I think in product it's very important for marketing and product to collaborate because yes, product should care about where leads come from, so they understand it. But yes, marketing should know what very dissociated because the objectives are not very aligned, right? Marketing cares about bringing in new customers, product cares about retaining. But marketing already, they already, how you say it, like they already got paid, right? It's like you brought X amount of users, great. Now it's products deal to keep, right? So I think there's a lot of platforms like Pendo have a lot of synergies because if marketing wants to create like a special message when the customer is on board, you can create that. If marketing wants to do a follow-up with like NPS or surveys, like how did you get here? You know, one example that I heard recently that was, I think it just came to mind, but it's a great example. Canva. Have you used Canva? Okay, so when you open Canva, it asks you a lot of questions, right? It's like, are you an entrepreneur? Are you employed? Are you a student? Are you working for a nonprofit? And I didn't know this, but do you know what they do with all of this information?
They cater your experience.
Yes. So marketing is identifying the persona that they sell to, and then product said, hey, we cannot treat the same a student as we do to like design savants. You know, we have to give a different experience. So you give that information to them, and then it loads, right? And then bam, you get what you told them. So I think that's a great example of why. And then you as a user, you're like, now that you know, you're gonna be like, wow, I'm gonna fill this up very precise because my experience is gonna be based on that. And sometimes you apply in multiple fields, and you're like, oh, should I pick this or that one because both apply? And I think that's part of the challenge. But yeah, I think there's definitely more collaboration that needs to happen. Are you in marketing?
I am, yeah.
Okay. How is your relationship with product?
So I work at a company that would fit into scaling.
Okay.
And we don't have a product marketing manager, so
Okay.
a lot of us put on the hat from time to time.
Okay.
But we will work with with products sometimes and set goals around instead of like you get your bonus if you get a lot of leads. It's like you get a bonus if you get more users to use this feature.
Okay.
So we do like webinar series that show a new feature and how to use it, how it can benefit our user. So we're not at kind of like the enterprise stage yet,
Right.
but we're starting to think about that.
I think that's a great idea. So incentives and money will drive action, right?
Right.
So if marketing is incentivized for a product use, then the chances of them investing time with product are higher than just being measured by how many leads did you brought into the company. So in summary, I think finding the right incentives for marketing to get involved with product, and probably the other way around, right? Maybe product creates an experience so appealing that NPS score is so high that marketing can use that to leverage. So if products can find if an incentive in product can find its way to drawing clients or prospects leads, I think that also like have them aligned on that vision. But yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you all want more tequila. So thank you again for coming. I appreciate it.
All right, so we still have 15 minutes to network, and let's take a group photo.
I promised this talk was going to be 50 minutes only. They told me 50 minutes, so I'm taking much more time. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, so facing this way, I'm gonna take the picture.
O sea, de aquí para allá.
Sí, aquí para. Squeeze together.
Cambio.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, and everybody say tequila.
Tequila.
Okay. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to Victor, please. Where? Here in the coach. Here like this?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Good, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. join us. Everybody has I would like to work with people like lawyers. They have less time to work on business calls. You have to look at it because right now I was walking past and I started downtown. I was like, yeah, sure. Where is it? Right here. I gotta go. I gotta head out.